Hello, friends. 743 or 44 days of war. I'm little confused. If you find the right number of days of war between Russia and Ukraine, please do correct. In southern war zone on Kherson front, there are no changes. Ukrainians are said to be establishing new defense line up to 12 kilometers from the Dnieper river. On Zaporizhia front, Russian army made some gains towards west of Verbo and offensive operation continuing towards west of Robertino. However, Russian army's offensive operations intensity seems to have reduced after many counter-offensive and reinforcements by the Ukrainians. In north, nothing special to report from Kupiansk, Swatovo, Crimea direction. Some minor gains for the Russians on some of the fronts. In east, where things are changing, north of Soledar, Siversk region, Russians' offensive operations have increased towards Bilogorivka and Vimka direction and have made some gains. Bakhmut, Russians made some gains towards Krasnoye and also towards Chasiv Yar, however nothing towards on the southern flank. Avdiivka, west of it towards Berdichi, Ukrainians made a big counter-offensive and forced Russians to withdraw, while in Orlivka, Tonenko, battle continues, no major changes. On Marinka front at Novomykhailivka, the Russians are advancing as Ukrainian seems to be withdrawing purposely but slowly in a phased manner. West of it towards Zorzivka, after Ukrainians' counter-offensive, the Russians' advance have stopped and fight towards outer skirts of Marinka West has started. Krasnohorivka, Russians have advanced in southern outskirts, while towards Pervomaisky too they have made gains, nothing towards Pobeda. Interdiction missions as before, Russians have hit many Ukrainian targets in Odisha, destroying many infrastructures, and in Kharkov. By and large, initiative continues with the Russians, though it seems that Ukrainians are trying to regain initiative, especially in the eastern war zone, as their reinforcements as well as counter-attack and offensive have taken new shapes, forcing Russians to withdraw on some of the fronts or stagnate. Palestine Israel Middle East IDF offensive operation on many fronts in Gaza front continuing, along with airstrikes at Rafah, Khan Yunis and other parts. Iran, as per a report, has seized some US oil cargo in Persian Gulf, but I am not sure of this particular news, while Indian Navy has saved Israeli linked ship, saving almost a dozen or more sailors of that particular ship. Biden, in last of his statement in the State of Union, talked many points, especially on Gaza. He said that Israelis have a right to go after Hamas. Before he could start his talk, there was big procession of the pro-Palestinian Americans and tried to block his motorcade. He also said there are no US soldiers in Ukraine but will withstand with Ukrainians and will oppose Putin. And thus he claims to be victorious because one of the rare occasions where Americans, without sending its troops, are destroying its enemy. While in the meantime, American ambassador was called by the Russians and warned not to interfere in the forthcoming Russian elections. Today is International Women's Day. In 1908 in Newark, when the workers' movement was taking place, 15,000 women joined and they demanded lower working hours, equal pay and right to vote. Later in 1910, Clara Zetkin proposed international character of this Women's Day, and finally on 8 March in Petrograd, a mass strike took place by the women for peace and bread, and that became the base of International Women's Day. And eventually in 1975, UNO had to accept International Women's Day. I wish all working women globally a powerful International Women's Day, a successful Women's Day, wherein they gain equality, safety, and their right to assert in every walk of field, economically, socially, politically, as far as family and national affairs are concerned. And I must add lastly that whatever we are talking about socialist revolution, political revolution, to get freedom from the capitalist yoke, unless women join, who hold 50% of labor power, who hold 50% of the earth, the revolution is not possible. And their participation is not because we love women, we want them to have equality, but because materially, unless they join us, we cannot succeed, we will never succeed. And even after taking over the power, removing the capitalist state, the building of socialism is not possible without their participation. I hope you do not mind me adding these extra lines in my video today, which was the need of the day, of the hour, of the century, and where the world is suffering from global conflict and crisis of climate. Thank you, friends.